Okay, let's begin. I am Lanice Antoine Shelley, and I'll be your host through constructive, healing-based conversations designed to illuminate the adoptee, parents, and the adoption curious. We center the topics around community, mentorship, leadership, and healing, so you get a multi-dimensional view that is ultimately empowering. These are the voices who could not speak when they were young. Hey y'all, if you've seen me on Instagram, I'm in my summer glow phase and I am unapologetic about it. My hair is luscious. Fun fact, I didn't start properly treating and doing my own hair until I was a grown adult because like many Black adoptees, no one showed me how to do my own hair. And because I love you all so much, I'm going to share with you my hair secret. I'm always on the lookout for things you'd love and things that will enhance your well-being inside and out. We Unique Cosmetics sent me their Moisture Lock pomade and scalp and hair therapy oil from their Metamorphosis line, and it's so decadent, light, and nourishing, fam. This has become a hair routine staple. It has a soft lemongrass scent that people comment on when I walk by or when they're doing my hair because now I have boho locks. They also sent me a 15% discount link for you to try their products and hair tutorial service. And Unique Cosmetics is Black owned and operated by a mother and daughter duo dedicated to helping the adoptee community. Check out the link in the show notes. And this is for all ages, fam. So tell your friends. So come on, embark on a hair-loving journey with We Unique World. From interactive workshops to premium products, they're all about empowering you to embrace your unique hair journey. Because remember, all hair is good hair, especially when it's healthy. Hi fam, how are you? I was definitely feeling the emotional ebb and flow this week as deadlines creep up, and we are now in the throes of winter. Therefore, I am having to will myself in ways I don't when we have the sun's rejuvenating heat. One of the ways I like to realign and ground myself is by listening to audiobooks or other podcasts. Yesterday, I was listening to Byron Katie on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, which is one of my favorites. One of the things that Byron said that really pierced me through was, victims are the most violent people. What she means is that people who identify as victims because of events or traumas that have occurred in their lives wreak the most emotional havoc. Hurt people hurt people. For example, when I got out of a relationship that was financially abusive, I felt victimized by the situation. I was angry for years and years, which manifested in being combative, irritable, and unforgiving. It was when I pivoted to, I am a survivor, I am resilient, I am worthy of something better. I allowed that anger to dissipate. I witnessed a lot of anger in the adoptee community from adoptees, and I understand it. Your feelings are seen and justified, but know that there are organizations such as Adoptee Bridge who can help you alchemize your feelings into healing that is productive and positively impact your life. Today I chat with Christine Heimann, who is the co-founder and executive director of Adoptee Bridge, where they offer education, mentorships, and support for adoptees and their families from any age. Here's Christine to tell us more.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And Adoptee Bridge was founded in 2017, so we are still relatively a new organization, but we're very proud to be entering our third year. And we were founded just because of the voices of adoptees that we heard of just the needs for more adoptees in the field of post-adoption services, just the needs for adoptees to provide these services for adoptees, not only adoptees, but also their family members, because we are the experts of post-adoption, of adoption, because we live and breathe the experience on an everyday basis. And when you look at historically, those who have provided adoption and post-adoption services, first and foremost, they weren't even related to adoption, but then secondly, they weren't even adoptees. So really, it's so important that adoptees, we lend our voices to those providing those services. So that's ultimately why Adoptee Bridge was founded, was to provide services by adoptees for adoptees.
How many adoptees are collaborating with you on Adoptee Bridge?
Right. So we have an awesome board of directors, and so we have nine on our board of directors. And so without them, I would not be able to do the work that I do. I consult with them sometimes on a weekly basis, other times monthly. They're all volunteers. So we have nine on our board of directors, and then we have an awesome group of volunteers ranging from the various programs that we do. So we have, for instance, our mentorship program, we have 11 who are great mentors. So they meet monthly with us. We have an awesome curriculum director for our mentorship program. So I work on a regular basis with her. We also have an adoptive parent who is working. I work closely with her on a newly launched program called the Youth Encouragement Program, which is trying to connect adoptees and their loved ones to youth in their birth country. And it's not just for adoptees and their families, but it's also open to the general public in providing encouragement to youth in an institutional setting or in an orphanage setting in an adoptee's birth country. So I work closely with an adoptive parent there. So again, we have a wide group of volunteers, and I couldn't do Adoptee Bridge without these awesome volunteers.
I love that you say that we are the experts because there's so much content out there that is adoption centric, but from the perspective of an adoptive parent or a psychologist. And I know that's what spurred this work for you. How has this work impacted the community, do you think?
I really do think that this work has impacted the community. I hear feedback from adoptees that I work with, but I also just see how the adoptee community in general is growing, just in terms of the adoptees who feel like they are empowered to share their voice now. Social media in general is huge. It's exploded now. And I see adoptees who now feel comfortable sharing their voices, or just out there, hitting the like button. They feel comfortable doing that. So I really do see how, as we've grown, our audience has grown. And so people, they either say, hey, we finally feel comfortable starting our own account and voicing our own stories. Maybe not every day, but it may be during National Adoptee Awareness Month, or maybe it's during their adoption day. They may post something and they say to us, it's because of something you posted, or they say something clicked because of an Adoptee Bridge blog post. And for us, that really means a lot because it means that, hey, we're actually doing something right.
Yeah.
Connecting with adoptees. And then, the adoptees that we see on an everyday basis, with the young ones in our mentorship programs, we want them to have fun, but just hearing from the parents too, them just saying, hey, the drive home, they couldn't stop talking about how, what an awesome time they had with their mentor. They had such a great time. They say they can't wait to come back the following month. And that's just something awesome to hear. I mean, kids in general,
Yeah.
if they say that they can't wait to do an activity again, that's something we
Yeah,
love to
yeah.
hear.
They're a great barometer for whether it's working or not, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So all of those, we gauge all of those, and we consider all of those as big, huge contributions to the adoptee community.
You act as a model for the possibilities for people to voice their narrative, which is incredible. And this is what this podcast is about, is just modeling conversations and possibilities for people. What are all of the services and how can people get involved with your organization?
Right. So even though we're located in Minnesota, if you haven't notice the accent. We're located in Minnesota, but we provide a lot of our services nationwide. Um, so, first and foremost, we have a series of discussion groups for adoptees. We also have discussion groups for adoptive family members. And I think, especially because of this unique situation we're in because of COVID, a lot of adoptees, they're finding themselves in a situation where they may not be surrounded with their loved ones or surrounded with people that normally would be their support network. And so they're trying to find different ways of connecting with a community. And so our discussion groups meet once a month. Um, and so we have a variety of discussion groups for adult adoptees and then also for adoptive family members. And then every once in a while, we can't forget about the young ones. We do also host discussion groups and bingo nights for the younger ones as well. It's a little bit harder though, just to keep, a monthly discussion group for the younger ones, but we can't forget about the younger ones. So those take place via Zoom. And then we also host birthland tours to Korea because myself, I'm a Korean adoptee. So we do host birthland tours to Korea. And eventually we would like to expand the tours to other countries. So India, Colombia, so other countries, but we have to start small. We're only in our third year. So
Oh,
yeah, so starting with Korea, so we're offering birthland tours to Korea, crossing our fingers that COVID doesn't change anything. Um, so we have those tours. I did mention the youth encouragement program. That's rather new. We have had pen pal programs before, but this youth encouragement program is new, is brand new. We just launched it. And again, it's with people here in the United States called encouragers, and it's connecting with youth in a different country. So whether it be right now, we have connections in Korea and Uganda, and we're trying to make another connection with an organization in China. And again, it's just to bring hope and encouragement to youth in an orphanage or institution type setting. And for adoptees, if they're from that country, it's for them to learn more about their birth culture. And for some adoptees, it's for them to think about kind of the what ifs, the what ifs I had grown up in this birth country, or what if I had grown up in an institution type setting, but also just to provide hope for a child that's still in that country. So that's the Pen Pal program. And then we also offer a retreat for adult adoptees. And now that's usually in person, but we do have some adoptees who do travel from far distances. We did have an adoptee who was planning to come from Pennsylvania uh, to our January retreat, but unfortunately, because of COVID, we've had to change some plans. But we do have a retreat for adult adoptees
and that's
that
in
takes place there
Minnesota?
in Minnesota. So lots of activities, and we do want to expand, but we have to move. We have to move slowly, slow at a time. But those are some of our main programs that we have right now.
I definitely want to talk to you about the pen pal program that you have because I'm a Haitian interracial adoptee, and I would love to have this program come to Haiti or something like
Oh,
that. So we have to talk
yes,
and figure out.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I'm sure you're part of groups on Facebook that are Korean adoptees or transracial adoptees, and so am I. And there's a Haitian adoptee group, and I know many of them are in search of their biological families and trying to bridge that gap,
Mhm.
and figure out what next in their adult life. So the fact that you guys support adoptees from such an early age up until adulthood is rare and monumental in a lot of ways. Did you guys always know that you were going to span from the beginning to where people are now?
Yeah, so when I founded Adoptee Bridge, that was really important for me to include all ages. Um, so when I first founded Adoptee Bridge, I knew I wanted to do some kind of mentorship program, with youth adoptees and adult adoptees, because when I talked to adult adoptees, a lot of them said they growing up, they didn't have a lot of support. They didn't have a lot of role models who were also adopted. And I know things have changed, in the past 10, 20, 30 years. But still, even to this day, there are young adoptees I meet, families I talk to who say, we've never met another adult adoptee. And in some communities, especially when you look at maybe the Korean or Chinese community, for adoptees at least, if a family says that they've never met another adoptee or adoptive family, or they've never connected online, I find that so hard to believe. And I tell the family, you need to do more work. um,
Absolutely. That's
you need to do
unacceptable,
more
to
work.
be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah, that makes no sense. There's hundreds of thousands of us out
Mhm,
there,
mhm.
and I'm sure there's at least like five within their own community.
That's just another driving force. I just heard these stories from adoptees, and even some adoptees who are 18, 19 years old, just saying, I never met another adoptee. No, my parents never tried to, reach out to another family or search for another community, the adoption community. So really, it's trying to get ourselves out there, really trying to, you know, make ourselves be known. And I know there are some families who they're just not going to be interested, and that's unfortunately their child. They're going to have to deal with the consequences from it. But I wanted to provide another resource and make it easier for families to have another resource, especially as the adoptee from when they're really young all the way up into adulthood. So they didn't have to jump from one organization to another. Just, oh, you're 13 years old. Okay, you have to jump up to this organization. And then, oh, you're going to have to wait a couple of years before you go to an adult organization. I just wanted to have one organization that could support families and children who are adoptees and adult adoptees all the way, all the way into adulthood, just to make it a little bit easier, a little bit easier for everyone.
Hey, I want to share with you something that has changed my life. It's more like someone, my therapist. Why is she so important? Well, because I want to win in this life. I want to break through the carousel of stories I've compiled that hold me back, that keep me from expanding into my full potentiality. Stories of unworthiness, not enoughness, and even stories of questioning why I am here. I also want to stop dumping my unsorted feelings on the people around me and reacting with the same behavioral patterns that keep me stuck. Conversations with my therapist have made me more confident, clearer in my intention, and more centered in my spirit. That is why I am elated that we are sponsored by BetterHelp, where you can, from wherever you happen to be right now, match with a therapist tailored to your exact needs. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. Someone who you can text at any time and schedule online for either a chat, Zoom, or phone call. And if it turns out that your therapist isn't the right fit, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional cost. Visit the link in the show notes, betterhelp.com, when they were young, to get 10% off the first month. You need to click the link in the show notes in order to get the 10% discount. I want to see you win, beloved. Let's do it together. Visit the link, betterhelp.com, when they were young. Do you primarily work with interracial, intercultural adoptees or adoptees, period?
Interracial adoptees. So transracial, transnational adoptees, those are the main ones that we work with. That being said, if there's an adoptee who's really struggling, who's not transracial, and we do have a lot who more recently who are domestic and from foster care, but especially if they're not transracial, more have started to reach out to us just saying, hey, these resources you're providing are great. We wish we had it. My heart goes out to them and I never want to turn them away. So I try to provide them other resources. I try to say, hey, have you looked at this group? Have you looked at this resource? But I do stress to them that we mainly work with transracial, transnational adoptees, and a big portion of that is race. A lot of it, and I think every single discussion I have, race comes up, the topic of
Mhm.
race, the difference between the adoptive family member and the adoptee, the skin tone, racism, everything. It always comes up. And that's just something, if you're the same skin tone, if you're the same race as your adoptive family member, you don't have to discuss that. So that's the main thing I bring up. If the adoptee is the same skin tone, the same race as their adoptive family member. And so they realize that then. They understand that. They understand that that's something unique about our organization, and that it is a safe place for transracial adoptees to come to talk about things like that.
What was the landscape for you growing up? Did you have contact with other adoptees, other adoptive families? What was that like for you?
So I grew up in the northern suburbs of the Twin Cities here in Minnesota, and it was in the suburbs. It was predominantly white. Um, there were, I'd say, at least one other adoptee. I'd say there was always at least one other adoptee in my school, in my grade. Um, but we never talked about adoption. I think our moms would probably talk about adoption, but
Hmm.
not us as kids. And to be quite honest, I was not really into my adoption, into my identity as a person of color, but especially not um, in touch with me as an adoptee until I was in high school. So when I was in high school, I became really good friends with another Korean adoptee, and she opened up, I just say, she opened up the whole world of the Korean adoptee community. And then I just dove headfirst right on in, and I attended culture camps. I did Korean dance. I became friends with other adoptees. And really, it was eye opening. And really, it helped me start my journey into discovery of not only who I was as an adoptee, but who I was as a person of color. Um, I went to Korea for the first time. So really, it was in my teenage years that I started to connect more with my adoptionness, if you'd like to say that.
I love that, adoptionist.
Yeah.
So, were you the only child in your family?
No, I have an older brother who's also adopted.
Is he Korean?
Yep.
Okay.
So he's on our board of directors, and I love him to death because of it. He just volunteers so much time. I mean, all of our board of directors do, but I think him being my brother, he somewhat feels obligated. Like, oh, you're my sister. I really have to put forth, 110%. Whereas the board, the other board members go, oh, we're the board, we're going to put forth 105%. But he goes, I have to put forth 110% because you're not just part of Adoptee Bridge, but you're my sister. So I have to see you at family gatherings, not just at the board meeting. And, um, but no, I mean, I love all the board members to death, but especially my brother, because he didn't have to volunteer to be on the board. Um, and so just his guidance. And so he also has a small business, a small organization. So just his guidance and his feedback and everything he's done, I so appreciate it because I've always looked up to him in everything we've done, whether it be playing soccer growing up or, it's always I've wanted to be like him. And now I feel like, oh, well, I want to start this organization. I really want to be like my brother. So I would always hear him on phone calls. And so now it's, well, I want to sound like my brother. I want to sound really good and professional. So, um, yeah, I take after my brother a lot in that way. And for that, because of Adoptee Bridge, I really am glad that I have a big brother.
Aw.
Mhm.
I love that. It seems like Minnesota is the epicenter for some reason of adoption because there have been quite a few Haitian reunification camps. and your work is in Minnesota. What's happening in Minnesota that this is the case?
Yeah, people ask that question a lot, and um, out of all the places too. I mean, Minnesota seems so strange. It's a cold, snowy land next to Canada. Nothing against Canada, but yeah, but it really ultimately came down to Lutherans. Just the history of Minnesota and Lutherans. Just it has a strong history of the Lutheran religion, and Lutherans were the ones who really started international adoption here in Minnesota. Um, and so they were also the ones who encouraged families, please open your homes. And to begin with, it was the religious base, like let's save a child
Yes,
from the religious base.
missionary. Yeah.
And so, because of Minnesota's strong ties with Lutheran religion, there was that. And then also because of the strong history with Korean adoption, they already had the base of Korean adoption to lay the foundation for other international adoption.
Okay. I did not know that about the Lutheran faith, and I assume the missionary work that steered them towards international adoption. Okay.
Right,
Wow.
right. Mhm.
So I asked this question to every one of my guests. Where in your life do you think you can apply courage?
Where can I apply courage? I think in my everyday life. I've always been one, and for some people it surprises them, but I've always been one who's been a pretty shy and quiet person. So I always have to push myself to do this work, to do something like this. So really, selfishly, it's I have to find the courage within myself to put myself out there and keep doing this. But when I look at the adoptee community, when I talk to an adoptee who's struggling, when I talk to a parent who says, you know, they're lost, they don't know how to reconnect with their child, um, when I hear that another adoptee has died by suicide, it really gives me the passion to push myself, and it really pushes me and gives me the courage to keep going, especially on the days when I may have received negative feedback, um, when I may have received constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is a part of life, but especially when you work really hard on a project and you don't get that grant, or um, you aren't accepted into a conference. I really have to dig deep and find the courage to keep going. And so it really is all the adoptees and the families I work with that give me courage to keep going.
Here are my reflections. 1. Adoptees are the experts of adoptions as we live and breathe it every day. Yes, adoptive parents have a strong hand in this, but your involvement was volitional. You chose the situation and we did not. So when it comes to books, articles, and movies on adoption, look for ones with the adoptee voice. That way, the story won't become romanticized, diluted, or glossed over. 2. It's imperative that we address all ages of adoptees, not just adulthood. In episode 3, my mom talked about how I gave no indication that anything was ever wrong because I was a happy-go-lucky child. A lot of times the loyalty burden or fear of the parent not loving us anymore keeps us silent. So please investigate. Ask questions. Reassure them that you're not going anywhere and get down to the truth of the matter. 3. Families connect with organizations like Adoptee Bridge. Check in with the agency you used. They may know of groups on Facebook or in the community. Even if parents aren't interested for themselves, please do it for your child, who may not ask for it, but need that connection. That was wonderful. I love exposing you to powerful organizations that help to strengthen this community. You can find Christine on Instagram or her website in the show notes. Another beautiful episode. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to my guest today. If you liked this episode, the best way to support me and this work is to write an iTunes review, a 5-star review. This helps us reach the top of searches and helps more people to find us. And if you personally want to connect, please reach out on Instagram or Facebook. And I have some great resource material on my website at laniceantoineshelley.com. So go on over there too. Until next we meet, go gently and have courage, my love.